Hello, Linking Parks. You want to play a rogue, you want to sneak past your enemies, you want to fight from the shadows, you want to grind the game to a halt as you deliver a monologue about how you work alone for the 7th time this session. Well, this video will analyze these edgelords, give you a little bit of a video essay vibe, and tell you everything you need to know about rogues, regardless of if you are a veteran or a newbie. And it will give you a brand new rogue subclass for free to try out next time you decide to don the mantle of the Batman. So, welcome to everything you need to know about the D&D rogue. Rogues are all about leaning against the wall and going all like, I've done a video on rogues before, and that was 3 years ago, and I sounded like this. Hello, it's me, Antonio D'Amico. Oh god, please don't watch it. Also, a literal new rogue, like a new version of the class, and about a bajillion rogue subclasses have released since. The older video was more of a dissection on the problem with the class, and this video is not that. This video is equal parts analysis and presentation. A complete overview and essay, if you will, on the rogue. The design ethos behind the class, the subclasses, what works about them, and the class itself, and what doesn't. Perfect for edgy connoisseurs and edgy hopefuls. The best thing to send to the person in your group that is on their 8th rogue character in a row, and or the person you suspect would play D&D if they knew you could be edgy in like an anime way in it. It's everything about the rogue. Don't expect a play-by-play of every ability, that's boring. You can watch the other rogue video about that. Nope, we're gonna start with rogue analysis, then talk about signature gameplay, then move on to every subclass that has ever been released for it, and then I'm gonna throw my hat in the ring and make my own rogue. I hope you like long videos, because oh god, like and subscribe because this was hell to make. Anyway, there's only one way to make this, and it's a list. Number 1, what is a rogue made of?
What was I made for?
First step on our rogue cake. I love food metaphors, sorry, I can't help myself. What are the ingredients? What is a rogue made of? Other than the power of manlighter and black nail polish, rogues also embody the power of 2 game design archetypes that are vitally important for the design of any class-based game. Rogues are glass cannons and skill monkeys. A glass cannon is a game design term to define a class or a character that dishes out a lot of damage, but is knocked down relatively easy. Basically, rogues can dish it, but they cannot take it. A glass cannon is the opposite of a tank. Tanks generally do middling damage, but can brush up damage inflicted to them like it's nothing. The only damage rogues are soaking is emotional damage from the sad backstory you gave them. Like and subscribe if you cry every 10. Glass cannons are good for the game because classes that can do everything are bad for the game. That's how you get god builds, and that's how you get a bad game. They're also good because they are really fun. It's a high risk, high reward playstyle. If you enjoy the vibe of dashing in, rolling an insane amount of dice, seeing your DM sweat as they have to subtract like half of the HP of their big boss in turn 1, and then like dash out to cower behind a pillar because if the boss so much as looks at you, you will turn into a pancake and die, you'll like rogues. This is the class for people that start salivating at the thought of big number. Play rogue and watch number go up. But rogues are not just glass cannons, they're also skill monkeys. What kind of Digimon is that? This is a D&D specific term, and it's also not bad. Skill monkey is a community game design term, like DPR or FACE. Comment below if you know what those mean to get your nerd cred points. You can catch them in at the Redditor commissary. You won't see the words skill monkey in any official D&D books, unless they start getting really creative with the adventures they're writing. A skill monkey is a character that is really good at a bunch of skills. Skills are basically used only outside of combat, or if someone decides to hug you in combat, or the restrained condition if you're not fun, and they are how you primarily interact with the game world. Need to convince the innkeeper that you're over 21 in Fantasy America? Persuasion skill check. Need to steal back your totally real fantasy driver's license from the innkeeper? Sleight of hand skill check. Need to climb the inn? Fight your DM so that they let you roll an acrobatics skill check instead of an athletics one because you dumped strength because you're playing rogue and you're not an idiot. The rogue is a skill monkey because they get access to more skills than your usual class, and they get access to the trait called expertise. Expertise makes you better at the things that you're already better at. So rogue is perfect for people that get really mad if they fail at stuff they should not be failing at. This is not a read, I'm this person, this is a safe space. Rogues become even better skill monkeys with their reliable talent ability, which makes it so that you can literally not roll below a 10 on any skill you're proficient in.
Tens across the board.
The other skill monkey in the game is bards, and I'll say that bards are better skill monkeys than rogues, but rogues are more specialized monkeys. Bards will do a good job at basically everything, but rogues will do a great job at the things they are great at. Overall, the blend of glass cannon and skill monkey makes the rogue, yeah, you know what, I'll commit, the healthiest class in D&D. Congrats! This hooded up Shadow the Hedgehog 4chan user is in tip-top shape. The rogue is easy to pick up, fun to master, it's fun to play, and importantly for martial classes, it gives you something to do when you're not fighting for your life.
Wake me up inside!
To me, rogues are the best start to the game, along with barbarians. But I know plenty of veterans that love to play rogues like 10 years into playing D&D. When I design any player option, I use the rogue as the measuring stick. It's a really solid class. And that's why I picked it for this video. Okay, so we've looked at the rogue's bones. So, number 2. Okay, but how does it play? In this section of our dark and brooding recipe for rogue making, we're gonna look at the signature mechanics of the class. How does a rogue play? Well, the rogue has an all or nothing playstyle when it comes to big boy damage, which is a double-edged sword to this edgy class. I'm a poet. The rogue doesn't get extra attack. Rogues are the only martial class that doesn't get this, and it's for good reason. And that reason is the rogue's sneak attack. A rogue's status as a glass cannon is actually more of a reputation than actual part of the class, and that is because of sneak attack. Once per turn, that's important, rogues can deal sneak attack damage provided they have advantage on the attack, which 99% of the time it means if a rogue attacks while hiding in the shadows, but they also get sneak attack if literally anyone is fighting whoever they're trying to stab. This means that the moment there's a melee combatant other than the rogue in the party, the rogue can pretty much always deal sneak attack, and sneak attack makes rogues feel like glass cannons because it deals insane damage. At a measly level 5, rogues are averaging 10 damage on their sneak attack every turn. That's without counting the damage of the attack that triggered the sneak attack. That's higher than any cantrip at that level, and it keeps going. At level 15, rogues are dishing out 8d6 for their sneak attacks. Do you know what that is? That's a fireball. They are dishing out 1 fireball a turn, and rogues can do this as much as they want. And, oh lord, sneak attack is affected by critical rolls. No, not that. If you roll a 20, you double the damage dice of sneak attack. At level 15, you roll 16d6. That's an average of 50 damage. And there are rogue subclasses that capitalize on this, but we're not there yet. So that's the most glass cannon-y glass cannon that has ever glass cannoned, right? Why do I say that they're more glass cannon in reputation than in actual math? Well, because they don't attack twice, rogues get 1 chance to deal that damage. And if their attack fails, that's kind of it for them. They don't get an extra chance to unleash that. This much steeper price for failure compared to other classes, and the other classes being able to hit twice, sometimes more than twice, makes the damage inflicted by those classes less flashy, but comparable to rogues. Sure, you're just not gonna roll 16d6 in one go with a fighter, like ever, but in one given combat, the fighter can very much end up dealing more damage than the rogue because they deal damage more reliably. This is not a critique, by the way, this is just a difference in design. You want each class to play differently, and the rogue plays very differently than other martials because of this. But rogue patch incoming, hold on to your trench coats while you can, sneak attack has changed. Yes, rogues have become more skill monkey by turning their cannons into more monkeys. In the 2024 update to rogues got to keep sneak attack exactly as it is. But you can now sacrifice 1 or more dice of your sneak attack to debuff the enemy. Do you know what that means? That's a controller, baby! No, not that. A controller is another poorly defined archetype for games that are based on classes that defines a character that is focused on debuffing or otherwise messing with the enemy. Gee, rogues, why does your mom let you have 3 archetypes in one class? Previously, the de facto controller of D&D was the bard, and bards are still better at being a controller than rogues are, but rogues now get a piece of that pie too. I have always felt rogues were sort of the twisted dark cousin of the bard, the Gengar to the bard's Clefairy. I'm 30. Since the controller is about giving utility to the party, and the rogue is kind of the king of utility out of combat, I feel like this works perfectly for the class, especially because it lets you keep the massive big boy damage, big number go up thing that many rogue players really love. So, what do you get if you sacrifice some of those big boy numbers? Well, you sacrifice 1d6 to poison the target, and reminder that poison makes someone have disadvantage on all attacks, so this is massive. You can also trip them for the same cost, and that gives them prone, which gives advantage to all melee attacks, including your melee attacks. If you sacrifice more dice, you get to blind them or stun them. Move over, monk. There's a new Make Your DM Cry class in town. And if you sacrifice a whole 6d6, you knock the enemy out. Just unconscious. Insane. Remember, this you can do every turn, provided you get sneak attack out. This is an insane amount of utility, and they are all debuffs instead of buffs, which matches the rogue perfectly. I think this is an amazing addition to the class. It really changes how the rogue can play, but it keeps the core alive. And you know what else changes how the rogue plays? Number 3, subclass analysis. People that cry in the comments of my class videos because I didn't cover your favorite, this one is for you, baby. So the rogue has... Oh, Jesus, Mary and Joseph. It has 9 subclasses. God, this is way too much. Oh, duh. I can just make someone else read my script for me. Human familiar, subclasses. Now.
Human familiar.
I've become so numb. Okay, instead of going in on every ability of every subclass, I'm gonna give you an overview of each of the subclass and talk about what makes them interesting. And also how good they are at doing the thing that they're supposed to be doing. But min-maxers in the audience should not worry their pretty little heads, because the hat has devised a complex and mathematical system to rank these subclasses. It takes into account every possible GMing style, every possible type of game. It is 100% objective and scientifical, and it's called... Good or goof? Objective, huh? Anyway, let's start with the PHP ones, and let's do it in the most exciting way possible. Are you ready? It's time for alphabetical order! Gotta make my job fun somehow. What? Oh. It appears I've found myself in another numbered list, and I need another one inside of the first one. So you know the drill. Number A, the prerequisite spellcaster subclass that all martial classes get. The Abracadabra Thief, the inventor of Invisible Mage Hand for the Scion. It is the Arcane Trickster. Play an Arcane Trickster if everyone at your table is playing a spellcaster and you wanted to do that too, but you know that you shouldn't, so you pick this, then complain the whole campaign that you would rather be a wizard now. So here's the thing. All martial classes that cannot cast spells have one subclass that allows them to go against the rules of nature and cast spells. It's like D&D tradition. And the Arcane Trickster is that for the rogue. Okay, so right off the bat, I'm gonna state my bias and say that these are never my favorite. I feel like you can get Duck Syndrome with this really easy. Duck Syndrome is when you can walk, fly, and swim, but you do none of the 3 well. But there's a way to build a good Arcane Trickster. It is just hard and very narrow. Basically, this thing lets you cast spells, very few spells, but spells, as well as some cantrips, like really few cantrips, but some cantrips. Now, some spells require saving throws from the enemy, which means that you want your spellcasting ability to be as high as possible, right? But as a rogue, especially as a melee rogue, you want your con to be high too, because you want to be like at least able to take some damage. So that means that intelligence, the thing that you use to cast, cannot be that high. It's your 3rd priority. Game designers call a player option like this MAD, multiple ability dependent. The paladin is like the baseline example of like a class that is mad by default. Surprisingly, it's not the barbarian. D&D jokes. Oh, brother. Let's go on. Because your intelligence is not that high, that means that your DC is pretty low. And that's bad, right? Well, yes. But the Arcane Trickster has a way to mitigate that. Magical Ambush gives the enemies disadvantage on their saving throws as long as you're hidden. So you want a bonus action hide and then sling a spell from the shadows. And that's awesome. It's a really cool fantasy. You truly are a spellcasting rogue. Arcane Trickster is probably my favorite of the martial spellcaster subclasses. It's really good. And the fantasy of it is really, really strong. However, I hate to say this, but I have to. You're probably still better off not taking any damaging spells, like no spells that require a saving throw from the enemy. Get stuff like Invisibility, get stuff like Silent Image, get stuff like Find Familiar, stuff that you don't need a saving throw to be useful. This is sort of the traditional Arcane Trickster build, just spells that are designed to be as annoying as possible. But, but number 2, things with 2024 might have changed. Booming Blade certainly has changed things. True Strike being like usable now, as opposed to like the mess that was 2014 True Strike, certainly has changed things. There might be a way to do a cantrip-dependent damaging Arcane Trickster, one that uses cantrips as their source of damage. All in all, Arcane Trickster is a hard to build, hard to play, really fun subclass. It offers a clear and really exciting fantasy for players to play, the whole rogue spellcaster, and it does that amazingly. Even with just one ability, Magical Ambush, it really sells on that fantasy. Probably the most emblematic of the God, I wish I was playing a spellcaster subclasses. Rating on the very scientifical Pointy Hat system says good. Moving on from Little Magical Guy to Shadow the Hedgehog. Number B, the edgiest of edgelords, the dark and brooding lord of darkness.
Darkness?
The patron saint of weirdos that salivate at the thought of playing Batman. Why? The assassin.
Baby, I'm a sociopath. It's a real killer on the warpath.
Play the assassin if you've heard internet explainers say that you shouldn't play Batman in D&D and you want to prove them right. Assassin is less of a DPS subclass and more of a initial burst blowing your load too soon subclass. It relies completely and utterly on going before the enemy in initiative order. For the whole fight, you ask? No. For the first turn, if you manage to go before the enemy, you deal a bunch of damage on the first turn of initiative, and then you don't have a subclass anymore. After that, you're just kind of done being an assassin for like the rest of the combat. The 2024 version is definitely better than the 2014 one, don't get me wrong. The surprise mechanics on the older one were a mess and also incentivized the worst way to play. But remember what we said about the rogues relying on like their one and only attack? If you fail that first attack, you don't even get a subclass on the first turn. Yes, you get advantage, but you can still fail with advantage. And sure, it's a big pile of damage, but it's a big pile of damage on round 1, and that's it. No more. And also, a bunch of stuff, including the capstone ability, relies on a con save. You know, con saves? The ones that, like, all monsters are good at? Sure, you get mimicry, you get, like, a disguise kit, but those are all situational and out of combat. And not great out of combat at that. I think the most secure thing in this subclass is overcoming resistance to poison. Like, that is a thing that you will use. And that's it. That's sort of, like, the only thing that stays after round 1 of combat. I don't know. I never understood the Assassin 2014 or 2024. I always thought it was bad, and yet people love it. Like, people really like it. The people that like Assassin love Assassin. And like I said, 2024 is better. 2014 Assassin was perfect for encouraging people to go off on their own and do their own thing. And the party just gets to watch this show of which the rogue is now the protagonist for like an hour. It was awful. It was awful. It's all about me. But like the core of the weirdness is still there in 2024. And that was probably the move. Like that was what they should have done. And they did. As I said, people that love Assassin really love it. If I had to make a guess, it's the player fantasy. That's what those people like. It's kind of like the Necromancer Wizard. And oh boy, is the Necromancer Wizard this. Like I wonder if this subclass would be liked at all if it was called the Striker. What I'm saying is the name carries it. Being an assassin is the fantasy. And people like that fantasy. So if you like that fantasy and you love the Assassin, I'm so happy for you. But ultimately, it's my video. And for its over-reliance on con saves, all but one combat feature disappearing after turn 1 of combat, and its need to go before every enemy to get anything out of that turn 1, I'm giving the Assassin a pointy hat rating of goof. It's like Tutor Boot, but like for nerds. Moving on, number C, the newest newcomer, the psionic contender, the anime one. It's the Soul Knife. Play Soul Knife if at any given time you're like one hair length away from making the sound effect that play in your head when you're fighting with your character. Like just like... Okay, I clown on the Soul Knife every single time I talk about it because when you put it right next to these like traditional epic fantasy archetypes, it does stand out like a sore thumb. Like it is so anime, and that's funny to me. But it's an extremely solid subclass and probably the best one out of the psionic ones, at the very least, the most popular. I honestly wish that the UA Scion was closer to the Soul Knife than it is. The Soul Knife uses the power of their mind to summon blades of psionic energy to their hands. I told you it was anime. And they use these psionic powers and blades to fight, to never miss a skill check ever, or to inflict an effect on an enemy. You know what this is. That's Glass Cannon, Skill Monkey, and Controller. It's the Rogue again. It's just more Rogue. Okay, so how does it do that? Basically, the subclass gives you a new resource to manage. I know that sounds very exciting. It's Psionic Energy Dice. That's where we got the name from. That gray name that we all like. Anyway, if you watch my video on Scions, you know what this is. But if you didn't, this is basically the martial arts die. It's the same concept. It's the same dice progression. It's the same thing. Except you use the Psionic Energy Dice to do like anime tricks. So I guess it is exactly like the martial arts die because you also use those to do anime tricks. Its main thing that you use them for is like the aforementioned psionic blades of doom and torment or whatever. They are basically better than any weapon that you could use as a rogue, and they deal psychic damage, which is really hard to resist. So use them. They're gonna be good unless you're like fighting a rock that can be psychically damaged. They do everything you weebs want them to do. You can like summon them to your hand, you can throw them around and like call them back. It's anime. You're fine. Everything you want them to do, they do. Here's my hot take. As out there as the Soul Knife is for like the rest of D&D, it is the roguiest rogue out of the PHP ones. If you like the rogue, if you like how the rogue plays and you just want more better rogue, this is the subclass for you. There are subclasses out there that change how a class plays completely. The arcane trickster kinda does this. There's one that really doesn't, and it's coming later, and it's my favorite. But then there's subclasses that don't. There's subclasses that just like go for the thing that the class is meant to do. And the Soul Knife is 100% the latter. And there truly isn't like one that is better than the other. Both are equally good. It just depends on what you like. And also, sorry, I have to mention this. Once again, if you've seen my Scion video, the Soul Knife gets telepathy. And it's better than the Scions? What's up with that? Insane. Anyway, in the Pointy Hat rating system, the Soul Knife gets good. And now we come to the last of the PHB rogues. Let's take a look. Number D, the subclass that used to be a class. The icon, the legend, the OG, the thief.
Mama, I'm in love with a criminal.
Play Thief if your idea of a power fantasy is cartwheeling. Listen here. Thief is a Final Fantasy job when Rogue isn't. And there's a reason for that. Thief was first. There were thieves before there were rogues. This subclass is hard to pin down, but the through line here is utility. This one really maximizes on the utility of the rogue. You're basically better at everything that is expected of a rogue out of combat. You can steal with a bonus action, you get a climbing speed, which means you don't have to fight your DM on whether climbing is athletics or acrobatics again. You're free from this torture and pain. You also don't get to fight your DM on whether using an object is an action or a bonus action. It's a bonus action for you. And you get to use more magic items, including spell scrolls, even though you're not a spellcaster, like in Baldur's Gate. Combat-wise, they get some stuff, which is always good for utility-centered subclasses. You want some of it. You get one extra use of like sacrificing sneak attack die to do something. You stay hidden, which is great. That means that you don't have to use your bonus action to stay hidden, which does push the thief to be a ranged combatant because you're not gonna stay hidden 5 feet away from the enemy, and you get to go twice in initiative, but only for the first turn. What is this thing about them doing everything on the first turn? It's absolutely not as bad as the assassin. As I said, this is one feature. It's not the entire subclass built around that. Okay, here's my deal with the thief. It strikes me as like an extremely table-dependent subclass. Let me tell you why. Yes, you get a climbing speed, but what if you play at a table where the DM already allows climbing as acrobatics? You didn't need that. You were good at acrobatics. Yes, you do get to use objects as a bonus action, but what if you play at a table where that is the case for everybody else because it's an extremely common home rule? Yes, you do get to use spell scrolls when you're not a spellcaster. That's great. What if you play at a table where your DM has played Baldur's Gate and liked that idea, and now that's also a thing that everyone can do? Can you see the problem now? Do you see where I'm going? What if your DM is not really about magic items? They don't incentivize you that way. There's plenty of DMs out there that don't really do loot. The Thief to me is kind of like a cautionary tale on house rules. They sound really cool. They're really fun to like implement and like watch videos about like which house rules should I put in my game. But if you're not careful, you might just like completely eliminate a subclass from the game because everything they do is part of a house rule. And they're pretty popular ones. I have used some of these. These are not obscure. So the subclass itself is good, but when you take it with the context, it can be really, really useless to the point where like it's basically not there. So it gets a Pointy Hat rating of good with an asterisk. Bing. Basically, ask your DM how closely they follow scripture before you play this. You could, as I said, end up with not a subclass at all. Okay, we're done with the PHB boys. Let's switch it up. Bonus number E, the helpful rogue, the leader, the one that gets you actually playing. It's start playing. The SP is the kind of rogue that leads thieves guilds or syndicates or cool things like that. Its whole thing is getting people together and coordinating them to get them to be their best and finally get stuff done as a group. The most common comment that I get in any of my videos is, this whole D&D thing you made sounds great, but all of my friends hate D&D and hate fun and nerd things, or I don't have friends, or they all live very far away in different pineapples under the sea. And that's when startplaying.com, the sponsor for this video, comes in, because it gets you actually playing D&D. Fancy that. As I said, Start Playing is a service all about actually getting you to play D&D. Like, finally. No more scouring the depths of Reddit's LFG subreddit to find a group and then you finally find one and you find out that they have some interesting ideas. Ew. Nope. Start Playing basically solves every issue you could ever have and to actually get you to play D&D. Or like any game. This is not just a D&D thing. It's Start Playing. It's not Start Playing D&D. It's included. Can't play because of schedule? Find games that match it. You can search for that, including flexible schedules. No group? No problem. You can find solo games that you can join as one person and the group is already done, or you can play solo, or you can play with just one DM. Too much group? No DM? You can find a DM this way too. Are you part of a community that gets talked down to every single time you enter a game store? Boy, do I feel you. I don't know what it is, but every time I enter one, I get talked down to like I'm 3 years old and can only count up to 3. Guess what? In Start Playing, you can filter for that too. do. It's amazing. We're talking about a service with more than 80,000 community members. There's a lot of people using it, so that's why it's easy to find a game. Pointy hat videos are nice and all, but don't you want to actually use those twists? And you just can't yet? Here it is. Here's how. Well, guess what? If this sounds appealing, which it sounds pretty appealing to me, I have a code. If you sign up with my link, which is the first link down below, you get 10 bucks of credit for your first game. So if you're tired of D&D being a hypothetical for you and you actually want to start playing, why not consider startplaying.com. As I said, it's the very first link in the description. And thank you for the sponsor. And now that we have a group that we can ignore as a rogue and go off on our own, we can play Number F. Have we ever gotten to Number F? For the first time in Pointy Hat history. Anyway, the Sherlock Holmes, the Gumshoe Rogue, the Benadryl Cucumber Patch of D&D. It's the Inquisitive. Play Inquisitive if you peaked academically in middle school and you have been chasing that high ever since. I wish the Inquisitive was good, like at all. Hot take, everyone agrees, but I'll say it anyway, the Nancy Drew of D&D kinda sucks. Not flavor-wise. Flavor-wise, it's amazing. You excel at defeating creatures that hide among and prey upon ordinary folk. Are you kidding? That's a TV show. Demon Slayer vibes, D. Gray Man vibes. Do you guys know what that is? You can make a whole organization of Inquisitives. The Inquisitive Organization. Inquisitive. We have to get through this. Come to think of it, it feels almost more blood hunter-y than rogue-y. Let me store that away in my little brain for later. Anyway, the Inquisitive notices things, pays attention to details that others just pass by, and all that analytical prowess is supposed to give you an advantage in combat, and it doesn't. It just doesn't. It's one of those cursed subclasses that doesn't work in like 90% of campaigns and only works somewhat okay in 10% of them. And 10% is being generous. Why do those ones always get the best flavor? It comes to us from Xanathar's Now That's What I Call Music remix. And boy, if your campaign is about winning every insight, perception, and investigation check, pick this one. This is the best subclass to do that, and only that. The Inquisitive is amazing at those skills, and honestly, very few builds will be able to like beat you at any of those three. And these are good skills to be good at. Like, they are useful skills. It's not animal handling or performance, you know, the redheaded stepchildren of skills. But unfortunately, D&D campaigns generally ask you to do a little bit more than notice a thing. And the Inquisitive Rogue just kind of like falls off massively right after they go, aha! Like, after they notice a thing, that's kind of it for them. They can't do anything else. Basically, every single combat ability for the Inquisitive, which are not many, is either extremely underwhelming or can be extremely easily replaced by a very common party. And whoever's replacing you will be better at doing that. Insightful Fighting, their whole signature combat ability, wants you to do a massive song and dance for you to, get this, be able to do sneak attack, which you can do if literally anyone is within 5 feet of whoever you're sneak attacking. So if there's like a fighter, a barbarian, a paladin, anything melee, a monk, this is useless. They also get Eye for weakness, which sure, extra damage, but such a pitiable amount of extra damage. Like, yeah, glass cannon, but like, look at the extra damage that assassins get. Look at the extra damage that Soul Knife gets. This one is just super low. I was really hoping that the Inquisitive would get like a 2024 remake because the 2014 had such cool flavor, such bad abilities, but nope. It reminds me so much of the College of Whispers Bard, and that subclass made me so mad that I made a whole video about it. So I guess all I can really say here is please give us a new Inquisitive, please. There you go. That should make them do it. Until they do, this Knives Out Rogue gets a Pointy Hat rating of goof. Anyway, speaking of Whispers Bard, forgot the letter. Number G, the mind of a mastermind, the high IQ Rick and Morty watcher of D&D, Lady Whistledown herself. It's the Mastermind.
What if I told you I'm a mastermind?
Play Mastermind if you want to feel like everything's going according to Keikaku. Keikaku means plan. Oh. It's a little bit awkward. This is just the Inquisitive in a different font. Wild that these two came in the same book. Xanathar, you will never be Tasha. Anyway, whereas the Inquisitive is really good at noticing things, Whereas the Inquisitive is really good at noticing things, the Mastermind is allegedly very good at talking. And that's kind of it.
Do you or do you not feel bonita?
I think the Mastermind might be worse than the Inquisitive, and that's wild, because you've seen how bad the Inquisitive is. You don't really get any help with charisma skills here. You rather get good at talking in different ways, like languages, mimicking voices, accent. Boy, is this flavor and not real abilities, or not even like abilities that a very roleplay heavy game will make use of. I've been in many of those. We didn't use mimicry that much, or languages. It's the help action as a bonus action and with a range of 30. This is good, straight up good ability. But also, you do use your bonus action a whole lot as a rogue. So you're really trading a big part of your kit in order to help somebody. This is straight up better than anything combat-wise that the Inquisitive gets, but the utility that the Mastermind gets is just so bad that it pales in comparison to anything the Inquisitive got. It's like, maybe if we put them together, like fuse them, they would make a good subclass. Did I do it? Did it happen? Insightful Manipulator is like theoretically kind of useful in combat, not much, but only theoretically. Like, yes, it lets you know class levels and like general stats of a person, and it does have some fun out of combat options that are very DM dependent. But just answer me this.
I have riddle.
How many times do you talk to an enemy for a whole minute before you fight it? Once per campaign? Twice? Maybe? And the perks are not great. And if you can't believe it, that's also the least situational one. Your capstone, like, the culmination of your subclass is creating false thoughts for someone that is reading your mind. That's probably the most situational ability I have ever seen in a subclass. And that's the capstone? Also, Misdirection is like technically a combat option, but I literally do not know where they were going with this. You crouch behind a friend and they get hit instead? What? Ultimately, whether this is worse than the Inquisitive kind of depends on like a pick your poison kind of vibe. Like, they're really fighting for last place here. Extremely situational, not particularly good at what it sets out to do, middling to bad combat options with the exception of bonus action to help, and even then, a bonus action as a rogue is a highly sought after resource, and then just general jank cannot be saved by good flavor. The Mastermind really presents a very common player fantasy, and I would know because it's my player fantasies, one of many, but this is the thing that appeals to me. I like these types of characters. I'm the target audience, and despite that, or maybe because of that, the Mastermind gets a pointy hat rating of goof. Okay, let's get spooky for the next one. Number H. It's the I see dead people subclass. It's the Goth of Rogues. It's the part that comes right before of the opera. It's the Phantom. Play the Phantom if you're crawling in your skin and your wounds, they will not heal. Finally, some good food. The Phantom is the spookiest of rogues and their flavor is pretty cool. Their whole thing is that they have a connection with death. Spirits talk to them, medium style, and they can use these spirits and these whisperings to do some pretty cool things in and out of combat. This whole vibe, by the way, much like the Spellcaster subclass for marshals, is a D&D tradition at this point. It's the spooky subclass. Much like the Soul Knife, this one does get an extra resource, and this one doesn't have an awful name to say. It's called Soul Trinkets, which is a very quaint name. It kind of sounds like a roadside DIY shop that like an old lady set up. But no, you're wrong, it's goth, okay? These are not dice like the psionic energy dice, but rather points, like sorcerer points. And you get one when someone stops being alive around you. In general, the Phantom is just like a slightly less strong soul knife. To me, the biggest fault of this subclass is that its signature ability, like the coolest thing that you can do with the soul trinkets thing, comes extremely late. Level 9. Level 9. Thanks to D&D Beyond, we know that most campaigns end around level 10, and you get your signature at level 9 in here. I know why this is, because I've done rogue subclasses. They have a very big gap between the first ability at level 3 and the second one at level 9. Bad design, you should have put something in the middle there. Other than this, the Phantom is fine. It works exactly like a rogue. It doesn't reinvent the subclass, and that's good. I like it that way. You get extra utility, you get extra damage, and you get extra control. It's the 3 pillars of the rogue that we have talked about 7 times. Choose the Phantom if you like rogues as they are, and you like the flavor, and you plan on playing for a long while, or start very late. Also, you do get to turn into a spooky ooky ghost, and that's pretty fun. You go ghost!
I'm going ghost!
For delivering on the promise of both more rogues and more spookies, and for giving that its signature ability comes at the end of most campaigns, the Phantom Rogue gets a rating of good. Moving on from scary to sculpting another class for the little that it's worth. Number I. It's the Ranger for the people that hate Ranger. It's the Rogue for people that had something awaken within them when they saw Cadmus with that bow. It's the part that comes after boy and or girl. It's the Scout. Play the Scout if you hate Ranger. It's the Bogue Rogue. It's the Bogue. It's also the Ranger, but better. It's the Ranger without all the mess. This is a Ranger hating safe space. It's my least favorite class. Sorry, Druids are up there too. I guess I hate nature. I don't hate nature. I just don't like those two. Sorry, ranger people, I just truly will never get it. Anyway, the scout wants to be what any rogue is in the city, outside of the city. Can you start seeing why they step on the toes of the rangers so much? You know how rangers are like intensely non-committal and like symptomatically so, and they go, you can be a dual wielding ranger, you don't have to have a bow. The scout goes, that. The scout wants you to be a ranged character down to their first ability, which is probably the best ranged ability of any subclass and class. It just lets you skedaddle the moment that anything comes within melee range of you. It has to attack you first, but then after that, you're good. And you do so without provoking attacks of opportunity. It's really strong. And then you get even better mobility to do that more. You also get amazing utility, 2 extra skill proficiencies. Do you know how much that is? That's insane. That's more than the mastermind one, and that's supposed to be a utility subclass. And they are good skills. It's nature and survival, which, yes, it's not like insight perception, but they're pretty good. Once again, better than animal handling. So, what's the rub? No combat abilities? No, Ambush Master is amazingly useful if you manage to go first. Once again, what is it with going first? And Sudden Strike, get this. Sudden Strike gets you a second attack. Yes, second attack for Rogue. Yup, the thing that Rogues are balanced on, just one attack, that thing that like it's the baseline of the balance for the Rogue, gone. You failed your first sneak attack, no worries, you have a second attack to try again. Also, I think I'm right, but if you switch targets, like if you hit one and sneak attack it, and then you switch targets to another one, I think you do get to sneak attack twice. Twice in one action. It's really good. It's probably the strongest ability so far. For this alone, but also for offering an alternative to people that like the flavor of the ranger but hate the mechanics of the ranger, I'm giving scouts a Pointy Hat rating of good. Okay, finally, for our last one, you know what's coming. I like this one just a little. Wow, that was cool. I feel cool. I shouldn't. I'm not, but I feel cool like this. I wish I could dress like this every day. Can you guess which one this is? I was being real subtle. It's Three Musketeers. It's Wesley Princess Bride. It's Zorro. It's Jack Sparrow, first 2 movies only. That's the only time he's good. It's the Swashbuckler. Play Swashbuckler if you like being cool and awesome and epic and the best. I'll try and fail to be objective here. Bias check, this one is my favorite. Not just my favorite rogue, no. Probably my favorite subclass. And the scream I scrumped when we didn't get them updated for 2024? It's okay. They're perfect as they are. I legit think that this is one of the strongest rogues, if not the strongest. Few subclasses in the game change how a class plays more and do it as seamlessly and as elegantly as the Swashbuckler does for the rogue. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. What's the flavor here? It's very subtle. Swashbucklers are the duelists of D&D. Every rogue is about being tricky in some way, not fighting fair, and the way that that manifests for Swashbucklers is just being indecently amazing at one-on-one sword fighting. They are the running around in circles around you. Oh god, I have to open Uber Eats like this. Oh god. See?
Sombrero pirata.
See? Un segundo, por favor. God, okay, I'll be back. You guys behave. I got 4 cheeses. I'm lactose intolerant. Where was I? Oh. Yes, they run circles around their enemies because they're just so dexterous and so good with a sword and so charismatic and so cool, and oh boy does it feel good when a power fantasy appeals to you. So you get it. The flavor is dashing, rogue, duelist, incredible with a sword guy. Zorro, Puss in Boots, when the Musketeers were dogs. But what about gameplay? I said this whole thing about this subclass changing the way that rogues play completely. How? Well, Swashbucklers not only empower the hit and run mechanics that rogues rely on to like survive, but they also turn the rogue into, game design term alert, a dodge tank. A massive part of tanking is ensuring that the enemy hits you and not the squishies over there that the enemy cannot hit. And you would be surprised how many tanks in D&D cannot ensure this. Swashbucklers take the high AC of the rogue and their ability to reduce damage, and they combine that with a taunt. No aunt in French. Also, I think that that's the 6th game design term. I'm on a roll. A taunt is basically an ability that makes the enemy target you. And that's what Swashbucklers do. Bars. They make it so that the enemy gets disadvantage on all attacks that are against anyone but the swashbuckler. And they make it so that the enemy that is taunted cannot make any attack of opportunity against anybody but the swashbuckler rogue. But how will the swashbuckler survive this, you ask? Not aware of how cool swashbucklers are? Well, I call them a hit and run tactics duelist, didn't I? The swashbuckler gets in, selects an enemy that is alone, important, gets a sneak attack off because swashbucklers always get sneak attack as long as they are alone, like no friendly creatures next to them, taunts that enemy that they just hit so that that enemy can only attack the swashbuckler, and then the swashbuckler just gets out for free. No cunning action required, no attack of opportunity, just gets out. The ability is called fancy footwork. Then the swashbuckler is going to move just far enough so that they are out of the range of that creature. Like if that creature can move 30 feet, then the swashbuckler will move 40 feet, ideally, which means that creature cannot attack another creature or they'll do so at disadvantage, and they just spend their turn chasing the swashbuckler around. It's awesome. And you can repeat this over and over again. The swashbuckler is better at compelling a duel than the spell Compel Duel. Basically how they play on a fight with several enemies is they have a boss fight all to their own as they take one enemy off the board and the party can deal with less enemies and concentrate their fire and deal with those. Then if the swashbuckler has not killed the one that they dealt with, they can join in and the enemy still taunted cannot hit them. It's amazing. And if you're against one enemy, that means that the swashbuckler can be a dodge tank until they're like low HP enough, and they can drop their taunt, get healed, and then get back in again. So, swashbucklers are just combat then? They forgot about the utility of the rogue? No! Swashbucklers rely on charisma. So, you want to bump the charisma up pretty high if you're playing a swashbuckler. You know what this means? This means that swashbucklers can become faces. 7th game design term. Score. A face is an archetype that is good at dealing with the social part of the game. Talking with someone, convincing someone, lying to someone, performing, and they're just as good as any normal rogue at the dexterity and exploration part of the game. So they're good at so many things. Yeah, I mean, I get you're not surprised, but I hope I made sense. I think I made sense. I love them so much. I want to be a pirate so bad. I'm dissociating. So, this is the final score. Arcane Trickster, good. Assassin, goof. Thief, good. Asterisk. Inquisitive, goof. Mastermind, goof. Phantom, good. Scout, good. Swashbuckler, good. And our top good of the week is the Swashbuckler. Yes, it is. Yes, it's my channel. It's the Hats channel. Okay. All right, enough. That's all well and good. But what would this very brief look at rogues be on the Pointy Hat channel if we didn't concoct a brand new rogue to play with? Store-bought is fine, but number 4. You thought this tortured cooking metaphor was for nothing? Nuh-uh. I love cooking just as much as I love pirates. I'm gonna bake a new rogue. I think I want to stick close to the rogue pillars while offering a significant change of gameplay. Not as much as the swashbuckler, because that's a lot, but significant. I think it's common for rogue subclasses to add a new resource to keep track of, because the rogue basically has no resources to keep track of. It's a very hands-free class. So that is another lever we can pull from. Not the wrong lever. I've clowned so much on the mastermind and the inquisitive, but as my familiar said, these are subclasses I absolutely love the flavor of. Like, that's sort of all according to Keikaku, hahaha, this was all part of my master plan, one step ahead of everyone.
I have the mind of a master.
That's a cool fantasy for a role-playing game. And I don't think a lot of subclasses are going for that. So what if I threw my hat in the ring for that? What if we took that player fantasy and really pushed it further mechanically, making it combat viable without forgetting the roleplay potential there? This game, D&D, is a tactical combat game, right? There's plenty of space for masterminding around in and out of combat. What about a subclass that detects the flaws in their enemies and exploits them? What about a subclass that shines in utility, like all rogues do, but in the prep work side of utility? Gen X will pipe up for this. You know that old internet saying of Batman can't beat anyone if he has enough time to prep? What about that, but in subclass form? It's a thinker, it's a planner, it's someone that is one step ahead because they have considered all possibilities. And that affects combat. They could really put the tactical in tactical combat, with the ability to direct their party members to do specific moves in combat to get the upper hand. And what if their gameplay is to take advantage of vulnerabilities, and their capstone is to literally make them up? Flaws in the enemy's armor that aren't even there. That's a big combat focus, but it gives a brand new way for rogues to interact with their utility, almost like their version of ritual casting. Ritual Skill Monkey. Oh god, that's terrifying. Anyway, if you have been paying attention, you already know its name. Tacticians count amongst their ranks figures as disparate as military strategists, advisors to the crown, ruthless socialites, and princes of thieves. Like all rogues, tacticians don't play by the rules of chivalrous combat tradition. The difference between tacticians and the rest is that tacticians apply their analytical mind and willingness to play dirty to the fires of the battlefield. The ends justify the means for the tactician. Some tacticians will befriend their foes, become their confidants, only to learn exactly how and where to hit them to bring them down. Others will send dozens, hundreds, or thousands to their death in order to ensure the key conquest that will win the war. Entire guilds of thieves and assassins, as well as shining political careers, have had a tactician behind their every winning move. In combat, they have found a way to exploit every chink in their enemy's armor, as well as enhance every advantage and natural talent of their allies to accomplish the tactician's goal. When playing, tacticians play only the long game and ignore every single rule to ensure their victory, no matter the cost. This makes sense, right? This is a common fantasy, at least for me. I really like this. This sort of like thinker, this tactician, this one that like sees the battlefield almost in like a bird's eye view. Always a step ahead, always with a plan in mind, always with prep work. I think that's just awesome. But this whole thing sounds hard. Like a new resource, it should have a cool name, like stratagems. Want to spend a stratagem to figure out the enemy's strengths and weaknesses? Want to spend one to change your sneak attack damage to those vulnerabilities for insane damage? That's a whole lot of game design. Good thing I dropped so many game design terms in this video. Good luck with that. Or I could end this monstrosity of a video with a subclass of my own. That's right, the Tactician Rogue is up for grabs for free, but much more exciting.
Hola guys, me llamo Antonio y vivo en Tenerife.
Wanna come to an island and be nerdy over there? I'll be in Tenerife TLP, La TLP. Yes, this thing that is super relevant to you. Real talk, I love my island, I love the place I live, and I think at least 5 of you are also around, so come see me. I'll just be loitering there. Link below. What's that? You don't plan on taking any island vacations? Well, you know where else I'll be? That's right, Gencon. Please guys, please listen to this. I'm doing a little game with a bunch of important people on the main stage of Gencon. Half of it is sold out already, more than half. You need to grab tickets if you want to come. What's that again? You don't plan on taking an Indiana vacation? Honestly, kind of fair. But if you're not coming to Gencon, I ask nicely, and yes, this game will be streamed. Not archived though, so you're gonna show up for the stream and like be annoying in chat for me. It'd be really funny. I've put the link in the description below, but like more info soon. But maybe you're not going to Indiana and you don't have access to the internet, in which case, how are you watching this? What if the tactician is not your thing? What about blood magic then? My first rogue video, which is 1,000 years old and I hate so much, is here. Don't watch it. And if you want something newer, I'm good at being a YouTuber. If you want something newer and you like the soul knife, how about the new Scion? That one has a subclass too, for free. All right, Batmans, see you at Gencon or at La TLP. Bye.
Mwah.